Hello everyone, welcome back to the SBRE. We're gonna do a recap of the 2016 sci-fi romance movie titled Passengers. In today's video, we're going to follow the story of a man who had to spend 90 years of his life stuck on a spaceship alone. He's hopeful as he realizes that he can wake up a perfect 10 out of 10 woman to share his fate, but in doing so, he'll be destroying her life. Make sure to watch the video till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts with the overview of a spaceship, Avalon, which is traveling from Earth to a habitable planet called Homestead 2. The ship is set on autopilot, and all the crew members and passengers are in hibernation. Then, the starship is passing through an asteroid belt in space. Small asteroids are destroyed by the ship's front shield, but suddenly, the ship's autopilot detects a big asteroid in its way. It prepares for the collision and diverts power from the rest of the ship to the front shield. The incident occurs and the ship survives, but it caused several malfunctions in the ship. One malfunction causes a hibernation pod to fail, and the hibernating passenger James Preston wakes up from his sleep. He's informed by a virtual assistant that they are now just 4 months away from their home, and they'll spend the time learning about the basics of colonial living while enjoying the amenities of the ship. He's also given a wristband that will give him access to several sections of the ship. The assistant tells him that he's assigned to Learning Group 38, which is for people with technical and engineering backgrounds. Jim takes a shower and nervously gets ready to take the first class. He reaches the assigned group and a virtual tutor welcomes him. The virtual tutor starts the class, but Jim is worried as he's the only passenger in the entire class. He asks where the other passengers are, but the tutor is of no help as it is only programmed to teach. Jim storms out of the class and anxiously starts searching for his fellow passengers. He reaches the ship's grand concourse but only finds an automated help desk. He tells the assistant that he wants to talk to a real person, and it tells him that the steward at level 3 handles passenger affairs. Jim swiftly goes to level 3 but only finds an empty chair there. He was super scared by this, and he decides to go to the command ring to talk to the captain, but his wristband won't let him access the room. Though he can see through the window that the captain and crew are still in hibernation and the ship's on autopilot. He finds the ship's observatory and learns that the ship is due to reach Homestead 2 in 90 years. It means that the other passengers are not late to wake up, he's 90 years early. He sends a message to Earth explaining his pitiful condition, but since they're in the middle of their journey, the earliest reply he can expect is in 55 years. Jim loses all hopes and starts roaming the ship. Suddenly, he sees a bartender, Arthur, and goes to talk to him. He says that he's relieved to see a human face, but soon gets disappointed as he learns that Arthur is an android. Arthur makes a drink for him, and they chat for a while before Jim goes to sleep. The next day, disappointed Jim goes to the canteen for breakfast and starts learning about hibernation pods. He gets even more frustrated when he learns that he can only have minimal breakfast as he's a low-class passenger. Later, he tries to repair his hibernation pod, but miserably fails and nearly chokes himself. After trying everything, Jim loses all hopes of surviving and visits Arthur. Arthur recommends that instead of being depressed, he should try to enjoy life on Avalon. Jim follows the advice for a while. He goes to explore different areas of the ship and even ventures out to do a spacewalk in a spacesuit. There, he stares at the endless space and starts crying in pain. He returns to the ship feeling devastated. For a moment, he contemplates committing suicide by launching himself into space, but he gets scared and starts running. He falls by slipping on a bottle he threw earlier. There, he sees a beautiful woman sleeping peacefully in her pod. While he's in awe of her beauty, we see that her name is Aurora Lane, and she's a gold-class passenger. Jim starts watching her videos and recordings, and even has breakfast next to her. After a long time, he feels like he has a purpose, and his life has meaning. Then he finds a way to wake Aurora up from hibernation, but he knows that if he wakes her up, he'll be destroying her life. He discusses the ridiculous idea with Arthur and comes to the conclusion that he shouldn't destroy her life for his selfish reasons. He goes through his boring life for 1 year, but is unable to control himself anymore and decides to wake Aurora up. He causes the pod to malfunction and he sees her waking up. Seeing Aurora, he starts to question his decision, but it's too late now. Aurora goes through the same waking up process and soon meets Jim in the grand concourse. Jim tells her that they're the first 2 fails of the hibernation pods in the ship's history and that they're 89 years early. Aurora is in disbelief of the situation and loses her mind. She starts running towards her pod to go back to sleep, but to no avail. Jim explains that these pods are only designed to keep you in deep sleep and that there is no way to get into hibernation as of now. Aurora gets really sad hearing this and goes back to her room to sleep. In the meantime, Jim visits Arthur and tells him that he woke Aurora up. Arthur promises that he'll keep his secret, and the scene ends there. Over the next few days, Aurora tries everything she can think of to save them, but to no avail. Jim has already tried everything, and their case is hopeless. Soon enough, Aurora accepts her fate too, and she slowly starts getting close to Jim. They play basketball, watch movies, and eat their meals together. At this point, Aurora is already in love with Jim, so he modifies a robot and sends it to her to ask for a date. She happily accepts, and they meet for dinner in the evening. After some eating and chatting, Jim takes Aurora out for a spacewalk. She hesitates at first, but Jim convinces her and they go out in spacesuits. Then, Aurora gets emotional looking out into space and thanks Jim for the ride. They get back to the ship and start making love. After all, Jim has not touched another human for an entire year. They start living like a couple and spend their time exploring the ship. Time passes and Aurora's birthday arrives, so Jim plans to propose to her. That day, they both witness a passing star from the ship's observatory, and Jim wishes Aurora a happy birthday. Then they go out for dinner and visit Arthur in the end. Jim leaves the two of them to get the proposal ring, and Arthur starts a conversation as to how Jim was looking forward to meeting her. Aurora questions Arthur, and he unknowingly tells the truth. She breaks down hearing it and asks Jim if he really woke her up. Jim sadly confesses and Aurora feels devastated. She leaves the place and stops talking to him. She avoids him and they start living in the ship like strangers. In an attempt to apologize, Jim plants a real tree in the concourse and Aurora gets really happy, but she still can't forgive him as the betrayal was too big. In the meantime, the ship Avalon starts to malfunction. Lifts stop working, cleaning robots go crazy, and the breakfast machine breaks. Suddenly, they hear an announcement through the speakers and run towards the concourse. There, they find the deck chief, Gus Mancuso, awake. Turns out, his hibernation pod failed too. Gus has the authorized ID, so he takes them to the command ring. There he explains that something is wrong with the ship, and now they have to collect data manually. Gus sends Aurora and Jim to collect data, and he goes to check their hibernation pods. Jim collects his share of data quickly and meets Gus near the pods. Gus finds out that Jim woke Aurora up, but instead of blaming him, he actually understands his predicament. After all, Jim spent an entire year alone. Then the three of them meet in the command ring, and Aurora confronts Gus about the pods. Gus says that he knows what Jim did, but he cannot do anything as of now. Suddenly, Gus starts coughing, so Aurora suggests they should rest. All three of them go back to their beds and sleep. In the middle of the night, Aurora is unable to fall asleep, so she goes swimming. Suddenly, the ship's artificial gravity malfunctions and everything starts floating. Unfortunately, Aurora was still swimming and she gets trapped inside a water bubble. Just when she was about to drown, the gravity of the ship is automatically restored and she survives. Then all three of them meet in the command ring and analyze the data. There, Gus explains that the first malfunction happened 2 years ago, the same time when Jim woke up. While they were talking, Gus suddenly falls unconscious. Aurora and Jim take him to a medical pod, and it detects several health issues. Due to Gus's goofy hibernation pod, he has developed 612 health disorders, and now he only has a few hours to live. Gus hopelessly walks out of the room. Then, the ship starts malfunctioning again, and Jim and Aurora find Gus at the observatory. Gus is having his final moments there. He tells them to take care of each other and hands over his wrist ID to Jim. Soon, Gus closes his eyes and dies. However, they have no time to mourn as the ship starts acting up again. It seems like the problem is getting worse and everything is malfunctioning. They visit the ship's reactor area and start looking for the problem. There they find out that the part of the asteroid that had hit them 2 years ago actually damaged the ship's main computer and is unable to cool down the reactor. Coming from an engineering background, Jim is able to repair the broken part, but the reactor is still unable to vent out the heat. Jim suggests that they need to open the vent manually from the outside. Jim decides to get ready with the spacesuit, while Aurora will move the lever. There, Aurora gets emotional and asks Jim to return as she cannot live without him. Then Jim reaches the vent, but finds out that it won't stay open on its own, so he has to hold it open. Aurora asks him to think of any other way as it will probably kill him, but Jim insists that there's only one way to save everyone and commands her to pull the lever. She reluctantly pulls the lever, and Jim is faced with the entire heat of the reactor. His heat shield helps him keep the vent open for a sufficient amount of time, but soon he loses his ground and gets thrown out into space. Due to the reactor's force, his safety wire breaks and he's unable to come back to the ship on his own. Aurora gets ready with her spacesuit and goes out to find Jim. She locates him but misses his hand in the first try. Luckily, she grabs his hand in the second attempt and brings him back to the ship. Jim's unconscious, so she takes him to the medical pod. The medical pod declares Jim dead, but she's not ready to accept it. So she uses Gus's ID to perform all medical procedures on him at once. Miraculously, Jim starts breathing again, and Aurora kisses him with joy. A few days later, Jim finds out that there was a way to get back into the hibernation using Gus's ID, but there's only one pod, so only one of them can live. He offers the pod to Aurora and leaves from there. But Aurora decides to not leave Jim alone and meets him in the bar. They spend their lives together on the ship. Then, at the end of the movie, we see that 88 years have passed, and the crew wakes up. They enter the concourse and are shocked to see a beautiful ship with trees and birds. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts about this movie? Would you watch it? Have a movie you want us to recap? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.